Hi and welcome back to Paw Creations tutorial videos. Today I'm going to demonstrate how I make my porcupine quill feathers. I have porcupine quills. I'm using size 0 9mm beading thread with John James beading needles, size 13, with some size 13 Charlotte cut beads. I'm going to use the colors I used in the studs I created in a prior tutorial, a couple porcupine quills that I sorted, snip off the barbs of those quills, get the darks even, and then measure off 1.5 inches, inch and a half. That's the size we'll need, and that's the base that we'll use to create our feather earring. I put my needle up through the porcupine quill and come out on the end with the dark color, and I use a needle nose pliers to gently pull it through. I don't want to split the quill. Put on one black bead and go back through the quill, and again using the needle nose pliers to gently pull that back through. I'm going to start by going into the quill at a slant and coming out right where I want the first row of beads to start. The first row is just one single bead, and I'm going to go through the quill straight across and come out the other end, and that bead will just sit snug up to the quill. One more bead and I'm going to use the same hole and go back through the porcupine quill and back through the first bead that I put on, and that's my first row. And then we're going to increase the beads for the next row to 2. I'm going to go through the porcupine quill in the space where I want the next row to lie, and put 2 beads on the other side, and I'm going to go back through the first row that I did with the single beads and use that same hole in the quill and come back through. 2 more beads, and I'm going to go back through the row I just put on using the same hole in the quill, and I'll be in the position to start the next row. Add on 2 beads, go through the quill, 2 beads, go through the row before, go back through the row and be ready to start the next row. Through the quill, back through the row before, and back through the row of beads to get back to where you'll start the next row. It really is simple. It just sounds complicated, and by the time I'm finished you'll see it. 2 more beads through the porcupine quill, 2 more beads through the row before, back through the row you're working on, and you'll be in the position to start the next row. And now the feather uses 11 rows of just plain white, and that takes you all the way down that quill. So once we get that 11 rows in, we'll finish off that 11th row, and then we'll start the colors that will taper down the end of the feather. So yellow and white. Go through the quill, come out the other side, and a white and yellow bead, go through the row before and back through the yellow and white row. And you're in position, go back through that. And you're in the position to start the next row. Will be orange and yellow bead. So you're basically just going to do that. Same colors that are on the post stud earring. And go through the row before and then back through the orange and yellow, and then you're going to turn over and go back through that row, and you'll be ready to start with the dark red. Through the quill, 2 more beads on, back through the row before, and through to get back to where you need to be to start the next row, which is going to be where we start the black tip. So black and red, black is gonna finish off through the quill, red and black, and that black will finish off the rest of that and taper off as the tip of the feather through the row before, back through those black beads to start the next row. And now the 1.5 inches should give you enough room to get the tip of that feather going. 2 more black beads through the quill, two more black through the row before, and then back through the row you just put on through the quill, 2 more beads through the row before, and through the row you just put on, bringing you back to the position to start the next row. So the taper off needs to be at the end, so we'll just put 1 bead as our last row through the quill, 1 bead through the row before, back through, single bead, and that finishes off the tip of the feather. And now you're going to go through that 1 single bead that you had put on in the beginning. You secure that to that, and that's it. And you're going to position your needle so that you can go back up through the quill, and pull that needle back through all the way out. And that is the feather. So now you will put some beads on to create the little drop that connects to the stud. Take the needle off of the long thread that you have and thread it on the tail that you left hanging off in the beginning. So your needle's on there, and you're going to go down through those beads, and it's basically going to create the, I call it a ladder stitch. Normally, I mean, you would do 2 needles going through the 2 beads in opposite directions, but this is a much simpler, quicker way to have that, and they sit right on top of each other. You'll have that row of beads, and you're going to go from top to bottom, set it on the top, and then you're going to continue to go from top to bottom through those beads, and they're just going to sit on top of one another and create that little dangle that will connect to the stud, top to bottom. Pull it so it sets sideways, top to bottom. And that last yellow bead, top to bottom, position it sideways, and that is the drop that will connect to the stud. And you just need to kind of get them straightened out and tighten them up so the threads are kind of tight on there, and pull it all together. Not real tight, like be real gentle, but firm. Get those pulled together, and then we're going to take the stud and we're going to attach the feather to the yellow point of the design. So we'll just go through that yellow bead, and then we're going to weave the thread right back up through the stud diagonally. We're just going to weave that all the way back around so that we're not tying knots. I don't like to tie knots in the small work like this. I don't want to see it. So we're just going to weave that right back up through the stud. And then once we get that weaved all the way up there through, we take the needle off and put it onto the other thread. And then we're going to attach it to the same yellow bead in the opposite direction. In the point of that. And then weave it back up through the other way, diagonally, and that just snugs that right up next to that yellow bead, and you just weave it all the way around, and you'll come out next to the other thread. And I just snip it off, but I use a lighter. That lighter will melt the nylon thread and create a little ball, and then you just push that into the stud, and then you can't see it. And that is your porcupine quill feather attached to a peyote stitch stud post, and looks awesome. And thank you for stopping by. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hope to see you next time, and thank you. Bye.